Memories of Myrtle Beach. Meet the man with 50 years of those memories. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Myrtle Beach Herald, Myrtle Beach's oldest locally owned newspaper, at its offices at Myrtle Square Mall. And we're visiting with Jack Thompson, Myrtle Beach's unofficial historian. Good morning, Jack.
Hey, thank you, Greg. My
Thanks
pleasure.
so much for getting in. This is so exciting to be here with you, and of course to know that you started doing some work here, some photography work at the Herald a little more than 10 years ago when it first launched.
Well, at its inception, I have been contributing photographs to the Herald, and have been fortunate enough to have a lot of my photographs on the front page of the Herald. And as I tell a lot of aspiring photographers, the way to advertise is to get your picture on the front page of the Myrtle Beach Herald. What better advertising can you get?
Absolutely.
Money cannot buy your name on the front page.
That's a great point. And of course, I've seen a lot of your photography in Coast and Alternatives as well. Bill Darby's publication. You're in there. I think he has a looking back page. You're in there all the time, Jack.
Well, it goes back 45 years. In fact, Bill Darby's publication, Sun Fund magazine, Coast magazine, back 35 and 40 years ago, I was contributing photographs to Bill, all of it with the idea of promoting the Grand Strand.
Which you have done oh so well, Jack. And actually a week ago today, Bill Darby was in and was wonderful. We did a whole 30 minutes with Bill focused on Coast, and he was superstar, learning about the Horry Herald, which he had helped as publisher back in 1955. The almost 50 years he's been here in Horry County, committing so much to the area. You beat him by a few years. I think you got here
51.
51.
Yeah.
Tell us what Myrtle Beach was like in 51, if there was anything here. I mean, what was here in 51?
Oh, the pavilion was here.
Yeah.
The roads, of course, were still coquina. There was about 600 people, I think, year-round population. Mm-hmm. And our season began June 1st until Labor Day, mm-hmm. sort of a 90-day period. Mm-hmm. And, of course, we knew everybody. And the meeting place was at the post office.
Huh.
You go down to get the mail, and you may not be back for several hours because that was the gathering place.
That is great. That is great. And the train depot, was it here in 51?
The train depot, of course, was operating in the 50s, in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. And as you know, most all of the material that came in to build Myrtle Beach and the infrastructure came through that depot.
I hadn't thought about that. I guess that's
really
exactly how Myrtle Beach grew.
That was our pivot magnet in Myrtle Beach, was the depot. Mm-hmm. And you might know that 501 highway was not cut through until late 1945. And so before that time, unless they went down 544 and made a wide circle around through Socastee back into Myrtle Beach, everything had to come straight from Conway on the railroad, mm-hmm. through the depot.
That's amazing, Jack. I hadn't thought about that, and I can't wait to talk about the depot. Let's talk a little, and of course there's so much going on out there right now. I can't wait to get into that. But what brought you to Myrtle Beach, Jack, and where'd you grow up originally?
From Greenville, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. My father was the editor of the Greenville News, mm-hmm. and a sports sports writer, mm-hmm. and he would tell us stories about how wonderful Myrtle Beach was, the ocean, the sand, the pretty girls, the music, dancing. So we all had an idea of what a great adventure it would be, mm-hmm. to go to Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, but 600 folks down here, Jack. Was there a job opportunity? Was there something that said Myrtle Beach is going to be the place to be? Did you know, like, there was a potential future here?
No, it was just the allure of the ocean and the sand, yeah. and the music. And two little friends of mine, we were, I was 12, the other two boys were 13 and 11. We got out on the highway and hitchhiked to Myrtle Beach, from Greenville, thought we'd be here in an hour or two. Took us 2.5 days.
Oh, wow.
We were pretty desperate little guys when we finally arrived, and they were anxious to see the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So we got into the pavilion, and they ran for the ocean, and I stopped at the photo stand in the pavilion and asked for a job. The man said, "How soon can you start?" And I said, "Well, right now." So I was working in Myrtle Beach toward my life career the moment I stepped in the pavilion.
That is amazing.
So I did get that job in photography, and I'm still doing that today.
That is fantastic, Jack. And who was that first job with?
Skip's studio, Mr. Dwight Lamb. And he did have a studio uptown after the season closed. And so I got a job with him. He became my guardian. My parents would let me stay, and he is my guardian, provided I went to school and did well.
Mm-hmm. And you were age 12, you said?
13.
13, that's right. One of the friends was 12. That's incredible.
So,
your folks must have been anxious at some level about you leaving Greenville, ending up down here, and saying you were going to stay.
Well, they were, and of course they sent my older brother down to fetch me home, and he really liked Myrtle Beach, and he met a local girl, and he didn't want to go home. So I said, "Well, if you're not going home, I'm not going home."
Yeah, no doubt.
So both of us got permission to stay, and with Mr. Lamb as our guardian.
That is fantastic. Jack, when did you figure out that you had a special sense of perception, really to being able to use the camera and just see a little more than, aside from the many pictures of yours that I have at my own house, when did you figure out that you had a special sense of perception?
It took me a while. A lot of people with a camera, like artists, have an eye for angle, for light, and for creating the right photographic angle, like an Ansel Adams might do of the Yosemite mountain range.
Right.
And it was, to tell you the truth and be perfectly honest about it, it was trial and error.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I went out and taught myself how to use the camera through trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
And of course Mr. Lamb was a great mentor and a critic, and he taught me a lot and instructed me in the big speed graphic cameras of that era, which are antiques today, but I use those cameras to create some wonderful classic, mostly black and white images of the early days of Myrtle Beach.
Right, right. Now, do you have a favorite subject? Do you have something? I think it was Hilda actually who told me that you're so incredible with children and worked with children. Of course, I've seen some amazing shots that you have of my daughter, and just to see you do an amazing job with kids. But is that your favorite subject, or?
You know, going through life in a chosen career, I spent time specializing in children to the point where I felt like I had just gotten all of the ability out of that particular mode of photography, and then I went to aerial photography, and then I went to portraiture, and I went to commercial. So I have had the opportunity over the years to exploit every venue of photography to the point where I was satisfied with myself that I had done it the best that I possibly could.
Jack, do you have a photograph that you're best known for? Is there anything that, of course, there's the ocean forest. I mean, there's so many shots, I guess. Is there a major political figure or some superstar location or a child? Or is there any shot you're best known for, or a series of shots?
Greg, if I could be facetious and say that there are so many of those, it would really be hard to pinpoint any particular shot. I regret to say that one of the most famous pictures is the demolition of the Ocean Forest Hotel, because that was a moment in time that was there for that moment and gone forever, could never be recaptured. And of course that photograph has been published many, many, many times. I did a sunrise photograph in 1964 of the sunrise over the ocean with the sea oats framing it in the sky, and that photograph has been on the, I guess, 500 covers of magazines around the country and international. So that was my signature photograph of Myrtle Beach.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Isn't there a shot with a Coppertone girl, or a shot at one point, excuse me, with a shot with a dog maybe, and was that a shot that's
running down the
you?
beach?
Mm-hmm.
Running down the beach, a young lady with training pants on had a hot dog running down the beach, and a little Cocker Spaniel dog ran up behind her and to bite at her and pulled her little pants down, and that was a great picture.
Right, yes, yes, very definitely. What's a normal day like for Jack Thompson?
Well, I have a studio going very well on Broadway, and I'm specializing now in projects of the classic photographs of old Myrtle Beach.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as you might recall, I'm chairman of the All Aboard Committee charged with restoring the Myrtle Beach Train Depot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tons going on around the train depot, Jack. It looks like it's absolutely transforming every day.
Well, we've raised the money. We have a contractor on the site, and he started out like gangbusters.
Mm-hmm.
They have really done a magnificent job. I think they're way ahead of schedule. We look forward to cutting the ribbon on May the 6th next year, which will be the anniversary of the original ribbon cutting by Mr. Simeon Chapin.
Is that right?
May the 6th, 1937, he cut that ribbon, and we hope to commemorate that anniversary date by cutting the ribbon and open that depot on that date.
That will be incredible. That will be incredible. An incredible celebration. What gave you the notion to get behind restoring the train depot, Jack?
Well, now that is a wonderful, colorful story.
Yeah, please share it
One
with
of
us.
those,
We got a
I
little
think
time.
that word is serendipity. Something stumbled upon by accident.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
one afternoon I left the studio to go to the post office late in the afternoon. And I rode by the depot, and two bulldozers had cranked up, spewing black smoke, crawling toward the depot.
Mm.
And thoughts of the ocean forest ran through my mind, and I immediately jumped the curb with my car and drove up between the bulldozers.
No.
Ran up on the porch of the depot and threw out my hands and said, "You're not going to tear this building down." The wonderful black guys on the bulldozer picked up the phone and made a phone call, and then he come back to me and said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I want 24 hours. Fortunately, the Myrtle Beach City Council was meeting that evening. I was not on the agenda, but that didn't bother me. I went to the council meeting. I walked up front and took the microphone and announced that, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here at the midnight hour. The depots have cranked up, spewing black smoke, crawling toward the depot. I fear they were planning to tear it down. It's a jewel in our midst. It's a diamond in the rough. For past and future generations, I believe we must save it. Surely, there's enough collective wisdom among all of you to find a way to save it." They went in a huddle, came back, said, "We will save it if you'll raise the money to restore it." I took that challenge. We formed a wonderful committee of local citizens. We've all come together, we've all worked very hard, and we have raised that money in donations. And we will cut that ribbon, and the depot and its landscaped park around the depot will be open as a community gathering place. So we look forward to that. It'll be a tremendous magnet for downtown Myrtle Beach and a tourist attraction.
Yeah, I'm sure so many folks having traveled down here in the late 30s, you said 37, late 30s, 40s, obviously until, now when did the train depot stop being used as just that?
In the late 50s, and is I think about 1962 was about the last freight train that utilized the depot, but passenger service ended in the middle 50s, and 501 was open, and it was, transportation by automobile was just too fast and too easy, and train travel just sort of, as it did around the country, it just sort of met its demise. And, but I understand it's coming back. Oh, yeah.
I think it is. I think it is, Jack. Now, who bought the depot at that point when it shut down, and what was it used for?
Sonny Stevens had bought that property and operated it as a beer distributing company, Stevens Corporation. And he then, after a while, sold it to Mr. Chris Giannis, who also had a beer operation there. And the city, of course, bought it from Mr. Giannis, saved it from that demolition. And I would like to mention that Mr. Chris Giannis was the first to step up with a donation to restore the depot.
Great.
Of $5,000.
Every amount obviously makes a huge difference. You mind me asking, Jack, how much y'all have raised to date?
To date, we have a little over 630 some odd thousand.
Golly.
Initially, we were charged with raising 568,000. But as time goes on, things change, costs go up, estimates go up, so now we are still striving to raise 700,000, of which we have 635 to date.
Great.
So we're still out there. We have a wonderful project underway, the Walk of History. It's a walkway that will extend from Oak Street to the depot and back out around the property to Oak Street again. It will be paved with bricks and pavers, inscribed with people's names, the names of family members, mothers, fathers, grandfathers, loved ones. So we want everyone who has an affinity for Myrtle Beach or the love of a family member to come forward and purchase those bricks and pavers for that walkway.
How much are the bricks, Jack, and how would someone learn a little more about it, or who would they call to buy one?
They would call City Hall.
Okay.
918-1055.
Okay, 918-1055.
And then they call me at the studio, 626-3194.
Okay.
The bricks are $50. That is a one-time $50 that will be there for posterity.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And the paver is $125. It's a 12 by 12 that would hold 4 family member names. Then there's another, the paver for corporate logos is $500.
Great.
And so if there's any way to immortalize an individual, it's in the Walk of History at the Myrtle Beach Depot.
And to immortalize a company who's been around a long time or wants to be around a long time, it's a great way to kick it off.
Right. To show their support for having saved and restored that famous landmark that is now on the National Register.
Yes, yes, Jack. Am I correct that you've got, speaking of National Registers, you've got a book out now? Or is soon to be in print or soon to be released? Maybe it'll be released next year. I don't think this is your first book either.
No, it's not. I did the Shoeless Joe book,
right?
The great baseball player. But I've been working on a coffee table book on Myrtle Beach, photographs through the years, That book is being printed as we speak, and I do have an initial run of those books with a leather cover, personally embossed, numbered, that will be out by Christmas.
Right.
There'll be only 100 of those. There'll be a limited edition collector's copy.
Okay.
But the hardcover edition of Myrtle Beach Memories will go on sale May 1st.
And if someone wanted to get a copy of even the leather-bound one, they could call you at your office?
They could call me at my studio.
Okay,
yes.
You only have 100 of those.
There's only 100 of those leather covered,
How
and
exciting.
they will certainly be a hot item.
Yes, I'm sure they will. As the bricks, and the bricks have been selling real well as well.
Oh, absolutely. We have raised quite a bit of money in donations for the walkway.
There's a ton of bricks and pavers out here in front of the, right here as you enter the Herald's office here at Myrtle Square Mall on the right, and I think those have been very popular here in the Herald.
Well, there's a lot of people in the community that have said, I do plan to get bricks for my parents, for my children. When is it going to be time to do that? A lot of people have been waiting to see something happen with the depot. And now that the depot is well under reconstruction, the time is now to purchase those bricks and pavers.
Jack, if someone did not buy one of those leather-bound copies of your book, when will it be out for publication and broad appeal?
That book, the same book without the leather, it'd be a hardcover, just as beautiful. Will go on sale May 1st.
Okay, great. May 1. Fantastic.
May 1.
We'll be on the lookout for that. You mentioned your other book, Shoeless Joe Jackson. Jack, we got about 5 minutes. Share with the viewers real quick your relationship and your great admiration for Shoeless Joe.
Well, being from Greenville, Shoeless Joe Jackson was from Greenville. And he became one of the greatest baseball players of all time. Unfortunately, he was caught up in the Chicago White Sox World Series scandal in 1919, of which those who knew him and revered him, realize and know the truth that he was not involved and he was not guilty. Unfortunately, he went to work in the textile mill when he was 10 years old, and he did not go to school. They let him work in the mill so that he could play baseball. He was a big guy for his age and extremely athletic. He went to play baseball and work in the mill, and at age 14 he was discovered by the Philadelphia Athletics, who hired him to play professional baseball. Again, he did not know how to read and write. So from Philadelphia, playing Major League Baseball, he went on to the Chicago White Sox. And when they became embroiled in the scandal, the lawyers put a paper in front of Shoeless Joe and said, sign this with your X, we'll take care of everything. He put his X on a confession.
Oh, no.
So that was 75, 80 years ago. We are still working to get his name reinstated so that he will more or less automatically go in the Hall of Fame.
And he really would virtually automatically.
Oh,
enter.
absolutely.
With that kind of
But now justice. I know you had Greg Hembry on your show recently. Justice. There's something about a man whose legend and plight and struggle for justice will not go away. After 80 years, hundreds of thousands of people are still struggling for his justice. And it will happen.
And you ought to talk to Greg about that. Actually, Greg's coming in day after tomorrow. He'll be in later this week, and we've been trying to get him on forever. I'm so glad you mentioned that. And justice is such an important word.
Right.
I'm sure that'll be instrumental in what we talk about that day. Jack, you and I have a common bond, obviously, and the woman who introduced us, Hilda, who had shared one thing with me that many folks don't know about Jack Thompson, is that he's an amazing grandfather. Do you have much time to spend with your grandkids?
Well, I do, actually, in my time away from the studio. And of course, I'm away from the studio a lot because that's how I get out and shoot the aerial photographs, the scenic photographs, and all the community activities that go on that I record on film. But I do have to find time to pick up the grandkids, to go see the grandkids, to interact with them. And I'm real proud of the fact that they call me Poppy.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. And, Hilda and I, we had a marriage, and we were fortunate to have a wonderful son, Jack Jr.
Sure.
And he and his wife, Tammy, have a little girl, Maddie, and is the light of their lives and a light in mine.
Yes, and I think they're pregnant again, I understand.
Oh, yes. I think Tammy said, I've got to do something with all these clothes. So we're very, very proud of the kids. I have actually 6 children. And fortunately, they're grown and all in their own careers, except for the grandkids that are coming along now. I have a daughter, Lisa, a son, Will, a son, Gary, Craig, a daughter, Mandy, and Jackie, of course. And I don't have time to go into all the grandchildren, but I love them all.
Absolutely. And he's loved by so many, the father of 6 and grandfather of so many, the unofficial historian of Myrtle Beach, the commanding chief of the All Aboard Committee, with so many other volunteers involved in that group. And he's got soon to have a new book out, and you can catch it in stores May 1st or get one of those very special 100 that'll be out very soon. Jack Thompson, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
My pleasure indeed. Thank
Absolutely.
you, Greg.
Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. We want to thank the professional photographer who's helped capture Myrtle Beach for more than 5 decades for making today's Carolina People so special.